Good Decisions campaign really started at the end of 2012. My son, Brett Finbloom, was in a tragic accident that he went to a party right before going to college. It was a month after the Lifeline law had passed. And there was drinking at the party. Brett drank too much too fast, and he passed out. His heart actually stopped, and kids were afraid to call. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know about the Lifeline law that had just passed. But then eventually they did call, and the police came and they transported him to the hospital, but it was too late for Brett. He was on life support for 2.5 days though. And we found out about the Lifeline law in the hospital, really. And we found out that it had just been passed months before and become law. And what the Lifeline law does is it gives immunity to underage people that from being charged with underage drinking, if they make the call or they text 911 to get help for someone and they stay and cooperate.
Each of Brett's closest friends say his death has changed their first year at college.
And it's real, and you need to know the dangers of, because I don't know how good of jobs parents actually do of telling their kids, look, it is actually like a serious drug.
Now, the girl in the story talked with 911, didn't know the address, so had to hand the phone off. None of those kids there that night will be charged by Carmel police. Please talk to your kids about the Lifeline law, created to protect the one who calls 911 and the one who assists. Brett was just 1 week from leaving for college in Oklahoma, where they are now creating their own Lifeline law based on Indiana. So on this one, teach your kids, call, stay there and wait, and save a life.
Well, making good decisions means to me just a reminder in your head, just something to have there that's your mantra, to make good choices, make good decisions. And it really started when we first started talking about what happened with our son. And my husband would find himself saying at convocations to schools, make good decisions. And so that became the name of the initiative. The Lifeline law really is a Good Samaritan law. And it is a life-saving law, because think of a situation where, let's think of yourself as an adult and you're at a party and you have one of your adult friends who starts having medical problems and you're afraid and you think they need help. Well, you're going to call for an ambulance right away or get them to the hospital right away and get help. You're not going to wait and debate. You're not going to be afraid of consequences for yourself or for your friend of getting in trouble for being underage. But you're just going to seek help right away. So really, the law treats younger people in that type of a situation where there's a medical emergency, or really any kind of emergency, the same. And it's been expanded now too. When the Lifeline law was first passed, it just applied to alcohol situations. And now it applies to any medical emergency that someone would have. And it also applies to any crime that's happening at the time. So if you're underage and you've been drinking and here's an example. You're walking down the street and you see somebody breaking into a house. You don't have to be afraid to call now because, oh, I've been drinking, the police will come, they'll smell alcohol in my breath. You can just make that call. When the police arrive, just tell them what you've seen, and you can't be charged with underage drinking for that situation. And also sexual assaults is a very important area too for coverage of the Lifeline law, because sometimes, especially young women, a lot of times in college campus situations, would find that they were at a party, they would have had some drinks, maybe something was slipped into their drink, or maybe they just had too many drinks and a sexual assault occurred. And they were afraid to report because they were afraid, hey, when the police ask me about this, I'm going to have to say I'd been drinking, and I might get in trouble for that, I might get charged with underage drinking. Well, now they could not be charged with underage drinking. They could not be prosecuted for that. Well, I think the main message is just how important awareness is and how important commitment is to something. Because when you think about it, first responders are trained, paramedics are, how to respond in emergency situations. And so by getting this knowledge ahead of time and thinking about it, I'm like, what would I do if this happened to my friend? If I was at a party and I saw that they were stumbling around and passed out, would I call for help? Do I know those alcohol poisoning signs? And if you know those and you've thought about it ahead of time and you've decided, hey, if I see that, I'm going to call, then that's what you're likely to do. But if you don't have that commitment and you're faced with this for the first time, you may just panic, shut down, run away, not know what to do. I think that he would want them to realize that life is a marathon and not to overdo it, to make good decisions and know the alcohol poisoning signs, because there is a lot of heavy drinking that's going on in schools, in colleges, and most likely you're going to see some situation where you're going to need to call for help, and to be willing to do that, to be that kid. I will do my best to make good decisions. If someone needs help, I will make the call. If I need help, I give you permission to make the call for me.